Hi, everybody. Ron Placone here, and I wanted to check in really quick here to talk about the Supreme Court ruling in regard to Hobby Lobby. And I'm a little surprised. On the morning show today, we talked a good bit about this, and of course, we were on the air before this ruling was decided, and we cast our predictions, and the prediction was that the Supreme Court was not going to rule in favor of Hobby Lobby. We were wrong. The Supreme Court did rule in favor of Hobby Lobby, and they ruled that Hobby Lobby can deny contraception coverage based on religious beliefs. They can deny their employees access to certain contraceptives. And I'm pretty disappointed about this for a number of reasons. First of all, this whole idea of corporate personhood and stuff like that, this is Hobby Lobby is not a religious affiliated institution by any means. They just have, the people that run it happen to subscribe to certain beliefs that they do not want to provide coverage to this, but the company itself does not have religious affiliation. So basically they ruled in favor of, yes, a corporation does have the ability to impose its agreed upon religious beliefs. Now, in the ruling, they specified, they said that this only applies to corporations that have a tight-knit group that run them, where it's a family or whatever. My question is, well, how is that going to be determined? How are some corporations going to be able to impose whatever religious narrative is agreed upon in regards to their employees' health insurance, and some aren't? How is this tight-knit group running a corporation, how is that determined by the courts? Is it based on the amount of traded stock? I mean, how is that determined? It's very vague. And I have a feeling what's really going to happen is that any corporation that just decides we're not going to cover this or we're not going to cover that on religious ground, well, now the floodgate is open for that to be a reality. And among all the cases related to contraception care, some of them were as broad as just all birth control altogether. So there's a big slippery slope that's just been opened here, and especially no one's talking about it, just how really terrible to women this all is, because I would say if I was a female employee at Hobby Lobby, I'd be a little worried right now. I'd be really worried right now that it's going to be complete access to my birth control next, and I think that's very reasonable. A lot of stuff I've read, they said that Hobby Lobby is more concerned with specific types of contraception care that, quote, causes abortion. And I put that in quotes because, depending on how you look at it, another way to look at it is that, Plan B pills and stuff like that actually prevents abortion from happening. So, it's all kind of about perception when it comes to that. But they're okay with certain types of birth control, but not others. But it creates a big slippery slope here, and in Hobby Lobby especially, it's really sad when a corporation can just be like, look, my religious beliefs are more important to me than you as an employee. And I think that's the message that's being sent here, and I personally find that message to be very discouraging, and I find it very discouraging that the Supreme Court would have a ruling like this when I think it's safe to say that this is completely divorced from any type of public opinion. If I had to point to two situations that really sunk Mitt Romney, I would point to two things that he said. First thing that he said was the whole 47% thing. When he said that on the campaign trail, I think that really hurt him. The other thing was that famous soundbite now where he says, hey, corporations are people, folks. Remember that? That really hurt him. I think because popular opinion doesn't support that idea. I think a lot of people are not on board with that. But this ruling supported that notion big time. It supported the notion that, yeah, corporations are people. Corporations can practice religion just like a person can. And this isn't about, this is sort of about just imposing religion in non-religious affiliated organizations, and that's the floodgate that's just been opened. So I think it's a pretty disturbing ruling here, and now I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, now when you go to a Glassdoor website to read about different companies and corporations, it's going to read like a Christian Mingle profile. You're going to need to know what the religious affiliations are, because you don't even know, as a person going into a potential situation where we have an employer-based healthcare system. What are you getting into? You might not have access to basic care that you would normally need. And a lot of people, a lot of statistics show that certain women, like, based on cost, is their decision to certain birth control products. And now if they don't have access to it in their plan, they're not going to really get the care that they need. And now that floodgate's been open. When you work for a religious affiliated institution, you know that going into it. You know that a religious affiliated institution, they may have exemptions to certain things because it doesn't fit the religious narrative, and you know that going in because they're a religious affiliated institution. You already know that. But now it could be for any given company. With the results of this ruling, Hobby Lobby can just say, hey, these are our religious beliefs and we don't want to provide this, and so that's that. We're not providing it anymore. And yes, even though Hobby Lobby does have a history of supporting a lot of, religious right agenda initiatives, there's definitely something financial here, where they're just deciding, oh, well, this would save us money, it fits our religious narrative, so yeah, we're not going to provide this anymore. That's definitely going on here. And now anyone else can try to do the same thing. I mean, they say, oh, well, this is just in regards to corporations that are tightly knit in terms of the ownership and in terms of, well, how is that determined? It'll be a case-by-case basis, and pretty much any corporation will be able to, kind of mess with the verbiage to say, yeah, we fall under that category. I mean, in pretty much any situation, there's an elite few that really make all the money. So how is it, who's to say that Walmart can't do the same thing? Who's to say that any other corporation couldn't do, oh, well, it's not a tight group in this case? Well, how can you even determine that? It's vague and totally ambiguous, and really what this ruling really meant was this was just a ruling for the corporate elite. That's really who won here. This isn't a win for religious liberty, whatever that even means in this case. This is a win for the corporate elite, where they're basically saying, yeah, the wants of the corporate elite are more important than what might be best for an employee's health, and it's more important than kind of general consensus, because I think general consensus has indicated time and time again that no, you can't just impose your religious beliefs on other people in a situation like that. So this is a pretty discouraging ruling, and even though I'm not saying I was totally like, oh, this won't pass, I'm still a little surprised. I'm surprised that they ruled in favor of Hobby Lobby again, because I think you can just point back to Mitt Romney on the campaign trail and the, hey, corporations are people, and how that sunk him. People aren't on board with this notion, and really, at the end of the day, this ruling basically said that, yeah, corporations are people. Not only are they people, they're people that can practice a religion that they want to, regardless of the consequences for their employees that did nothing wrong. So it's pretty discouraging, and we talked about that on the morning show. Of course, we were a little more optimistic, thinking that they were going to rule differently, but I wanted to talk about the ruling right away. So thank you for tuning in, and this is Ron Placone signing out. Hopefully there's better news down the road.